How do you write the perfect sales proposal that's guaranteed to be accepted every time? I'm going to show you on this episode of the Do This Sell More show. Hi, I'm Dave Lorenzo. This is the show where we help you make more dough. That's right, this is the Do This Sell More show, and we help you grow your business, increase your revenue through relationship-based business development strategy, and we help you do all that and get home on time for dinner every night. On today's show, you will discover the new ABCs. ABC stands for Agreement Before Contract, and that's how you can be assured that you're going to get a proposal that's accepted every time. I'm going to explain that to you. I'm also going to explain to you why you lead with value first. I'm going to share with you the options for the client, how you create them, how you get them to agree to them, and how options can help you sometimes double or triple the value of your contract. And then we're also going to talk about the term, the length of the agreement, and finally, confirmation of the deal. That's what we have for you on this packed show today. And this show is driven and powered by your questions. Today's show is ripped from the questions I receive on a regular basis about proposals. In fact, I've gotten over a dozen questions about how to create a proposal, how to make sure a proposal is accepted. That's why I'm doing an entire show on it. If you want to send me a question, you can send your questions to askdave@dlorenzo.com. That's ASKDAVE at DLORENZO.com. Send them in an email, make a video, send the video to that address, make an audio file, send me the audio. If you send me a video, I'll use your video on the show. If you send me an audio, I'll use your audio on the show. If you send me text, I'll use your text on the show. Sometimes we make whole shows based on the volume of questions we receive. That's what we're doing today about this show because I've gotten so many questions about proposals. So let's look at the first of the 5 things you're going to discover today, and that's the new ABCs. And ABC stands for Agreement Before Contract. Agreement Before Contract. That means that you get everything out in the open. Your client shares with you exactly what the problem is. You share with them the value you provide. You talk about how that value is worth something to them, either in a return on investment or in the mitigation of the damage that's being done to their business currently. Everything's out in the open. You don't ever surprise the client with anything. The client knows what you're thinking. You know what the client's thinking. This requires consultative sales. It requires you to ask really good questions. It requires you to dig deep and understand specifically what the problem is the client's facing. But once you know the problem, you then have to figure out whether they have the ability to make a decision, whether they have the urgency to solve the problem. You share your value and you talk about money. So let's talk about those things. You get the client to agree that this is a problem that he or she's facing. You get them to put a dollar amount on that problem. How much is this issue really costing you? Once they agree the issue's costing them some money, then you can talk about the solutions to that problem. And when you're taking the problem away, when you're solving the problem, one of 2 things either happens. They're going to either make more money or they're going to lose less money. And you use that to justify the value that you're going to provide. You use that to justify the investment they're going to make in your services. And then you compare that investment to the value they're receiving, and it should blow them away. The key point I want to make here in this segment of the show today when we talk about agreement before contracts, the key point is that there are no surprises ever. The first time the decision maker hears about the investment should be when you're sitting face to face discussing what this issue is costing them and how you can help them solve the problem. That's the time to share the investment. They shouldn't be opening the proposal and seeing the dollar amount for the first time and going, oh my gosh, that's a surprise. We want no surprises in the process. Everything's transparent. You uncover the problem. You show them how you can help them. You put the financials together in a way that they understand that by investing in you, they will lose less money, or by investing in you, they will make more money. Once they realize that, then the investment is presented, and they realize that that investment will pay off long-term in a return. And that's the no surprise agreement before contract. Never, ever surprise your client. No surprises ever. Have I said that enough? No surprises. Don't spring the price on them in the proposal for the first time. Discuss it ahead of time. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, well, that means I'm going to have an awkward conversation up front. Yes, that's the whole point. Have the awkward conversation up front. I don't want you to have an awkward conversation after the proposal is submitted. Why? You may never get that person on the phone. You're having a conversation with them. They think it's going to cost $10,000. You send them a proposal for $1 million. They're never going to call you back. If you have the conversation up front, that is never an issue because you realize you're not on the same page while you're having the discussion. That saves you headache, it saves you heartache, it saves you anticipating a deal that's going to close when you never had a shot because they never had that kind of money to begin with. Agreement before contract. Always, 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 and no surprises. All right, let's talk about my value first principle. You have to show the client that you're going to deliver value before you ever ask them for any money. Now, there are 4 ways you demonstrate value to the client. Number 1 is you demonstrate the value to the client by providing a solution to a current problem. The client has an issue today. You help them solve that issue today. That's valuable. Number 2, you help them provide a solution to future problems. You have a problem that's going to come up in the future. You know this problem is coming. You need to head it off, and this is the right time to head it off, so we're going to address it together. Think of the Y2K problem, the year 2000 issue. Some of you may not even remember, but in the late 1990s, people discovered that computers may not be able to handle the fact that the year was going to end in 00 in the year 2000, and the computers were going to think it was 1900. This was called the Y2K issue. Companies spent hundreds of millions of dollars to adjust their computing systems to make sure that they could handle this 00 digit at the end of the year. What did that mean? That meant that they were going to stave off a problem that they were going to have in the future. They were going to prevent this problem in the future. So in 1997, 1998, 1999, companies invested hundreds of millions of dollars to prevent this problem from becoming a huge issue in the future. You can do the same thing with your clients, and that's the second way to demonstrate value. The third way to demonstrate value is to help your client achieve near-term goals. You want to acquire a business in the short term that will help you secure your competitive advantage. How do you do that? Well, you need financing. Guess what? I provide financing. I can help you solve this near-term goal issue. You can achieve this near-term goal with my financing. And the fourth way is to solve long-term goals. We want to be the number 1 provider of widgets in our market. I can help you become the number 1 provider of widgets in your market by increasing your sales force productivity. And we're going to create a sales academy together. And that sales academy will be a competitive advantage for you, and it will enable you to dominate your market. That's an example of long-term goals. So once again, the 4 ways you can provide value: solution to a current problem, solution to a future problem, achieving near-term goals, or achieving long-term goals. Those are the points of value you're stressing to your client in this agreement before contract. Now, when I say offering options to the client, I mean not offering a client just a yes or no situation. So the client has a current problem. You can help them solve that current problem, and they could say yes or they could say no. You can help them solve the current problem and prevent this problem from recurring again in the future. They could say yes to solving the current problem and no to preventing it again in the future. Or they could say yes to both. Now, here are 4 ways that you can deliver options to your client and make more money as a result. The first way to deliver options to the client is by offering a solution to their current problem. You have a solution to a current problem that's worth $10. We can also help you prevent this from recurring in the future, and that will cost you $20, but it will save you $150 in the long term. We can also help you achieve your near-term goals while preventing this problem from coming back and while solving it in the short term, and that's worth $30. If you want us to help you achieve your long-term goals as well as your short-term goals, prevent the problem from coming back and solve the problem right now, that's worth $40. This is how you structure options to your client. Always give them choices. Options allow your client to select from one or the other. They allow you to offer things to your client he or she may not have thought of, and they allow you to deliver more value and increase the size of the client's investment. Options are the way to go so that you don't just get a yes or a no. You will get a yes and an additional investment that will help you make more money. The final step in this process is confirmation of qualifications. What does that mean? You have an agreement with the client. The client says, you know, Dave, I talked to you at length about what my problem is. I'm convinced you guys can solve this problem and help me keep it from occurring again in the future. So I'm going to invest the $20. I don't really want help with the near-term goals now, and I don't want help with the long-term goals just yet. Maybe we'll talk about that down the road. So let's go with the solution that helps me solve the problem and prevent it from happening again in the future. Then I have to qualify the client one more time before I hand him the contract. So what I do is I say, Mr. Client, thank you. I'd be honored to work with you. So let's just recap. We're going to solve this problem now, and we're going to prevent it from recurring in the future. That's going to save you $200, and in return, you're going to invest $20 in this solution. Is that correct? He says yes. Okay, so you're the person who signs the contract, is that correct? Yes, that's correct. Okay, and you want this done right now, so we're going to start tomorrow after we sign the contract today. Is that correct? Yes, and there's nobody else we need to involve in this process. There's no board of directors approval needed. We have you and you alone as the contract signer. Is that right? Yes, that's right. Okay, here's a pen, sign right there, and you shake hands on the deal. Why did I go back and reiterate that he was the right person, that they wanted to do this now, and the money and the value? Why did I go through all those things again before I sent him the contract? Now, you may not be handing him the contract. You may be sending it by email, and it may be electronic signature, but you get the point. You recap all that. What you're doing is you're making sure that everything is the same from the beginning of the process to now when the closing occurs. Why do you do that? You do that because you want to make sure that you're not going to get a back out when you send that contract over. You give him one more opportunity to say, well, no, the president really needs to sign it. I got to take it into the president. Or, well, that was a little too expensive. I ran it by the board and they said we can't afford it now. You want to give him the last opportunity to bail out of the deal so that you can make adjustments to make sure the deal happens. If you don't do that, you send over the proposal and you could get a big surprise. He could have to get board approval and the board won't approve it. He could have to get the president to sign off on it and the president won't sign it. You don't want those surprises, so you reconfirm the qualifications that he's the ideal person to talk to. He's signing the contract. He's agreed to everything. You get all that done first before you send him the proposal. So this is so important. Agreement before contract is so important because you'll spend so much time sending out proposals, writing up contracts, that it'll bog you down. Proposals and contracts that will never get signed. And it'll lead to heartbreak, and it hurts your self-esteem because you think to yourself, I've sent out 50 proposals and I only get 5 or 6 yeses. In fact, that's the very question. That's one of the very questions that led to this episode. I got an overwhelming response for some people on exactly how proposals should be written because people said they were sending out proposals and not getting any responses. If you use this process, you have an agreement before you ever send out the contract, and the proposal is oral. You get nothing in writing. They get a contract after you've discussed and confirmed everything. This new ABCs, agreement before contract, is so important that I think you need to reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns. My phone number is 888-444-5150, 888-444-5150. We can discuss how this plays out in your industry. I can help you transform your sales. If you're an entrepreneur watching this right now, this could change everything for you because you will now be having upfront conversations, doubling and even tripling the value of the contracts you're writing, based on the transparency we've built into this process. Reach out to me so I can help you transform your proposal process, which is now strictly a contracting process after you've had a transparent discussion with your client. I hope you put this into practice right now because this is probably one of the most valuable aspects of your sales process. It will transform the dollars that you put in your pocket as well as the revenue you use for your company to fuel its growth. I'm Dave Lorenzo. Until tomorrow, I want you to do this and sell more.